Gary McDonald from Ordnance Survey.
Okay, good evening everybody. My name is Gary McDonald. I'm a Strategic Relationship Manager for Ordnance Survey, and essentially I work in our land and property team, and we're very keen to engage with all the key stakeholders in the land and property sector, including vendors, partners, end users, and other strategic organisations, professional bodies, etc., because we want to ensure that we're helping professionals with better information management. And that's my preferred definition of BIM, better information management, because that's fundamentally what we're talking about. So if I say the words Ordnance Survey, you're an informed audience. You probably know more about Ordnance Survey than the casual passerby, but I'm just going to present a quick overview in the form of a video clip, just to give you a flavour of what Ordnance Survey is about. And it may surprise some people if I can get this clip to work, which I can't. Work during the demo.
Just kill everything else. That's right. There you go.
Oh, great. Right, next technical problem. There's supposed to be sound, but there's a pounding music track, but don't worry. You'll still get a flavour. So this is probably what most people know Ordnance Survey for, isn't it? The iconic paper maps. Explorers, the land rangers, all users of those good mapping products. And, but fundamentally what we're about is going out and capturing the geography of Great Britain. And clearly we're there to help diverse organisations such as utility organisations. And we've got an extensive partner network, so we very much work with key partners. And what we're finding now is that we're developing an opportunity to work with new partners, some of which are in the room, like 3D Repro, Business Collaborator, and other organisations. So we're starting to really looking to innovate and make better use, particularly of geospatial information for informed decision making. And of course, our data underpins the property market. Invariably, any design will start with Ordnance Survey data, but also we help insurers for things like risk assessment and so forth. And emergency responders, of course, great users of our data. So literally our data helps to save lives. And if you think about it, it doesn't really get any more important than that. And of course, unfortunately, they're all too common nowadays, isn't it? These flooding incidents, and so we can help organisations to respond to those sort of key events. But the core of what we do is capturing the data. And it's a dynamically changing thing. We estimate at least 10,000 updates a day. Actually, my colleagues tell me it's much higher than that now, something like 50,000 updates a day. Okay, so I think you get a flavour that perhaps we're not just paper maps. And so really we're there to capture the changing dynamic landscape and capture change as it happens. And our key focus is on a number of strategic sectors, including government. Government organisations, local national government organisations can access our data through something called the Public Sector Mapping Agreement in England and Wales, and the One Scotland Agreement in Scotland. And I think our play into government is going to be of increasing importance as we move into new industry initiatives around BIM and around smart cities. And already sort of touched on the fact that we're renowned for our consumer offerings, and many lay people think that we're just a paper map business. We're not a paper map business any longer. Haven't been for a number of years. It's a pretty small part of our portfolio nowadays. About 5% of our revenues come from paper mapping. We're a digital information business. That's fundamentally important. And moving forward, it's about how can we work with our business-to-business customers and partners to deliver innovation and to help with efficiencies and so forth. And we do, although we focus mainly on Great Britain, we do have a growing international aspect to our business. And it's key to our strategy going forward, where we're taking our trade craft in Great Britain and exporting that. And that's really getting traction now. So really, we are there with our partners to be the content providers of choice for location-based information, location-based services, and our desire is to work with partners to solve real-world problems, whether it's service improvements, whether it's to save on costs, help with efficiencies, or indeed to develop new market opportunities. And we've been around for a while. Anybody like to guess which century Ordnance Survey was founded in? Pardon? I know you've been lying. No, for those of you who don't know the answer, you've been lying awake many a night wondering about this, haven't you? Well, I'll put you out of the misery. 225 years that we were established in response to the perceived threats at the time. The French were about to export their revolution and invade Great Britain. So good, accurate, detailed mapping was recognized as being important. And from those early beginnings, what was then called the Board of Ordnance, was the Defence Ministry of its day was tasked with mapping particularly the southern coast of Great Britain. And now that's led to the whole of Great Britain being mapped in detail. And, despite the fact that Ordnance Survey is an organisation, we're no longer a civil service department. We were spun out of the civil service about a year ago. We're a government-owned company. But we kind of punch above our weight. Despite being a relatively small organisation, we make a massive contribution to the GDP of this country. That's not an idle marketing boast, by the way. That's a respected independent party who were advising government about our contribution to the GDP of this country. And we're particularly keen to work with new partners to develop new opportunity, new revenue. And at the moment, we're currently driving out about £400 million worth of new revenue on an annual basis. I expect that to accelerate because I think we're starting to see this paradigm shift. People are recognizing the power of and the use of geospatial information. But the core of what we do is capturing the data, two fundamental capture methods, aerial survey, which you can take aerial photography through clever photogrammetric methodologies. You can then convert that to ortho-rectified images. You can then take measurements from that imagery, and you can capture height detail. And that's really fundamentally important. It's part of our integrated data capture program. And clearly, therefore, when it comes to geospatial type information, then we are the go-to provider of those type of solutions. But again, I stress, we work with partners. We can't do it without our partners, and we're very keen to partner with organizations. And so what we do is capture the topography of Great Britain through our master map database. People familiar with the master map database? Anybody heard of that? Yeah, so yeah, some will know about that. It's a database. It's a geographic database. It can be queried and managed just like any other database. It sort of links into some of the things that Dave was talking about having relational databases and being able to query against that data. It's fundamentally important. And it's all about change. So to our transport layer, for example, we're making 20,000 changes on average per month. There's a lot of change to capture and keep on top of. And for our addressing databases, about 28 million geocoded postal addresses in Great Britain, rapidly changing. We also capture non-addressables, things like community centres and other features that don't have an address. And so we're responsible for nationally consistent data, capture of data, literally petabytes of data that we capture. But we haven't forgotten our good old leisure products. So we've got some really great apps now. Those are a small part of our business nowadays. We are looking to innovate even in the leisure side. go to our website. There's free to download apps. And if you want premium content, then you might have to pay a bit for premium content. But I think they're fantastic. I use them myself. I love going out into my local forest area and purposely getting lost and trying to find my way back. It's really quite an exciting way of using the data. And there's apps for us cyclists and others as well. Now, this is just to give you a flavor of the sort of different types of organization we deal with. I'm often asked about Google and Bing Maps and what's our relationship with them, and the implication is, are they beginning to eat your lunch? Frankly, no, that's not the case. At the core of what we do, actually we collaborate with them, we provide data to those organizations. What I always say about Google is, I think it's just brilliant what they've done with geography. They've brought the value of geography into our everyday experience. How many of us probably found our way here using that type of mapping service? So it's absolutely brilliant, and it helps keep us on our toes. We need to make sure that we're constantly ensuring that we are relevant to our user base. But other types of organizations, what are called licensed partners, we've got extensive networks, so people like Landmark. Anybody know ProMap? Yes, so some of you will be familiar with ProMap service. Esri is a GIS vendor, so those type of organizations. So, and the point about these organizations is that they are diverse. They have different requirements, and it's how do we try and meet those requirements is key. So broadly speaking, our technology strategy is to develop themed data sets, so things like topo, height, 3D, it's described as location analytics, network analytics, so road, rail, river networks, and modeling that data. And sorry about the skew in the fonts. This always happens when I present on someone else's machine, but so forgive me for that. And then on top of that, we have developed a number of APIs, similarly themed, so mapping APIs, data APIs, and what we call insights. And we're making those available to customers and partners, and we're getting a lot of feedback, so it's a developing theme. We've developed our own apps, mainly for our sort of leisure products, but increasingly what we're doing is exposing those APIs. So what we're doing is streaming our content into customers and partners' applications to avoid complex loading, storage, and integration costs. And here's a simple example of an API. If this works, we'll try it. Yep. So this is a mapping API, various styles. If I could show you the live version, you'd see that you could quickly switch between those styles. Just click on a radio button and automatically will load, render a new style. Never sure about the nighttime version, but someone obviously, that probably is a requirement. But it's quite a nice mapping interface, as you see. And it's sort of, we use Amazon Web Services to host in the cloud. It's what's described as ZXY slippy mapping. It's what people are used to using nowadays. And it's RESTful web services. So it allows customers and partners to easily integrate our data into web apps, mobile, and desktop applications. And this kind of just summarizes where we're trying to get to, and which is why I kind of got really excited when I first started hearing about BIM as a methodology. Because at the moment, a large number of users take our data, particularly in the land and property sector, designers, and what they'll do is download a bite-sized chunk of data, and they use that to contextualize the design. And it's just the geometry that they're using. They're using the attribution and the intelligence behind the data. And we think better use could be made of that data if you've got the right tools. And so we're working with our partners. They're now developing new services, energy performance assessment, for example, or for environmental analysis. And where we're moving into, some of our end customers, all they're interested in is a dashboard, property developer. What I'm interested in is property yields or rental values, or where are my voids, or what are the risks and perils that impact on my estate. And clearly in the design world, whoops, don't know if that's going to work. Oh, yes, it is. So clearly in the design world, it's about visualization. I think that's going to be fundamentally important. I think we're on the cusp of a bit of a breakthrough. So visualization, virtualization, simulation is going to be increasingly important, because stakeholders are going to want to know what's the impact of this development on my area, my neighborhood, how it's going to impact on adjacent buildings and so forth. So we need to carry out shadow analysis, line of sight, flood risk, subsidence risk, all that sort of stuff. And slightly provocative, but here we are in 2016, and the majority of plan decisions are still based on 2D designs rather than a 3D visualization. And I think that's just mad. How can you really make key decisions? Certainly for major projects, maybe not minor, housing extensions and so forth. But for major projects, how can you make informed decisions unless you're really looking at something that we all understand? A lot of these stakeholders, planning departments, are not experts, they're lay people. So bringing that understanding to them, communicating design ideas is going to be critical. So BIM, we all know what BIM as an acronym stands for, and I like the subversion of BIM to British Information Modelling, but we believe that it should be underpinned by intelligent geospatial referencing. And what it's all about going forward is smart infrastructure, bringing the rigor of the automotive and aerospace industry and improving operational activity, asset information, performance management, and connecting to what might be described as a digital national framework for more insight. And I think we're on the cusp of that. And that's going to feed into smart cities convergence, not just about the CapEx saving at one end, but actually can we drive out social savings at the other end. And Ordnance Survey itself is very much involved in smart city standards. We're part of a consortium now, something called the European Union's Espresso project. It involved in open geospatial consortium and working with other European organizations and Price, Waterhouse-Cooper and those sorts of organizations. And we're starting to see a number of strategic pilots for the development of city models. And very quickly, I don't know if I've got 2 minutes maybe? No, 1 minute, okay. Very quickly, I'll just try to map onto the maturity wedge. So basically, we're going from simple geometry in terms of OS data into actually better use of 3D type information with digital terrain models, digital surface models, building heights, etc. Then moving into visualizations, and then moving into things like predictive analytics for better use of that data, all the way through into geo-asset management, so not just using data at feasibility, but also throughout the whole project lifecycle. Trying to, this is a key thing I'm passionate about, let's promote convergence between GIS and CAD, which is, at the moment, still silos of technology. So we can have that common data environment, a single source of truth. And then going forward, what is it going to look like? I think OS should become a repository for all that geospatial related data in an object-oriented database. And it's really virtual design, merging the inside and the outside world, providing a Zoom stack, depending on what your level of detail, what your view is, going all the way through into subsurface data. And we believe that Ordnance Survey and its partners should be core to that. And then obviously that, again, we need to develop new and strategic partnerships to realize that vision. That, in 10 minutes, concludes the presentation. Thank you very much indeed.